The Speedmaster is undoubtedly Omega's most iconic watch, not least because Omega won't let anyone forget that it was the first watch worn on the moon. Thanks to their ceaseless marketing, the Speedmaster has achieved a cult status akin to that of the Rolex Submariner. And fans of the Moonwatch hold it up as the quintessential chronograph, the one that you simply must have in your collection. Now, I have to be honest and say that this is actually the first Speedmaster I've got to spend any time with. What this means is that I'm approaching this review with a fresh pair of eyes, unburdened by the knowledge and reputation of previous Speedies. So I'm not going to try and compare this to the older generations of Speedmaster, but instead judge this new one purely on its own merits. There are two versions of the new Speedmaster. The first comes with a Hesalite crystal and the second features a boxed sapphire. It's the sapphire option we'll be looking at today, and it retails for £6,120 on a bracelet. So let's see how it stacks up once you take away the hype. Now, the first thing that hits me about this Speedmaster is just how well it wears. With a case that's 42mm wide and 13.5mm thick, the Speedy certainly isn't small, but it sits very well on my skinny 6¼ wrists. The reason it wears so well is the gorgeous case design. The twisted lugs, stepped bezel and mix of finishes all help trick the eye into thinking that the watch is thinner than it really is. Compared to something like the new Tudor Black Bay Chrono with its slab-sided case, the difference is night and day. The wearability is further enhanced by the new 5-link bracelet. With its small links, it's really flexible, so it hugs the wrist nicely, and it's got that jingly-jangly feel that fans of vintage bracelets will love. It does have a pretty aggressive taper from 20mm at the lugs to 15mm at the clasp, which personally I'm not a fan of, but that is just my opinion. The clasp has a new retro design that I adore, and it feels very solid. Though as great as the bracelet is, we all know that the Speedy is a strap monster. And you know where you can get a ton of great straps from? That's right, us, over at WatchGecko.com, where we have a host of leather, NATO and rubber straps that completely change the look of the watch. So don't forget to head over there after the video and see what we've got. Of course, the other big update in this new Speedmaster is to the movement. The watch now uses the caliber 3861, which is actually an evolution of the caliber 321 used in the original Speedmaster. The 3861 is a 28 joule manual wind movement that's got a 50-hour power reserve and a silicon balance spring. It's also a METAS certified master chronometer, which means it's accurate from 0 to +5 seconds a day and resistant to magnetic fields reaching 15,000 Gauss. The 3861 also has a coaxial escapement, and it's the first Speedmaster movement to do so. The coaxial escapement has less friction than a traditional lever escapement, and the end result is that the watch is more accurate and goes longer between services. Now, having a fancy movement is all well and good, but as someone who's detached from the Moonwatch hype, I was curious as to how I'd feel about the Speedmaster after wearing it for a few days. Well, now I've spent some time with it, I can say that putting on the Speedy really does feel as though you're equipping a precision instrument. The pushers operate with a satisfying click, and the chronograph reset is exceptionally crisp. Plus, the fact that you can see the movement ticking away through the sapphire caseback only adds to the aura of technical precision. And like any good instrument, the dial of the Speedmaster is very legible. The stark white hands and markers on a matte black dial provide some exceptional contrast, and I've no trouble reading the time in any lighting. The same goes for the tachymeter scale on the bezel. It's easy to read despite the small size of the numbers, and whilst to casual observers like myself it looks pretty much the same as any other Speedmaster bezel, the scale has been updated to have the dot over 90, which is a nod to the pre-70s Speedmasters. Part of why I think the Speedmaster feels like such a precision tool is that there are very few elements to the design that are purely aesthetic. Everything on the watch is there for a reason and has been distilled down to its simplest form. About the only concessions to design are the stepped minute track and sunken subdials. These give the Speedy some wonderful depth and subtle detailing without adding any unnecessary clutter. And as you can guess by now, I don't really have anything particularly negative to say about the 3861 Speedmaster. Sure, the lume isn't terribly bright, but I didn't expect it to be given how much of it there is. And it is also a little tricky to wind because the crown is shrouded by the case, but these are very small things on an otherwise excellent watch. So even though I'm not versed in the history of the Speedmaster, I can tell that the new 3861 is a watch with over 50 years of history behind it. It's clearly a watch whose design and components have been refined over the decades until what you've got is something that's damn near perfect. Every aspect of the 3861 Speedy comes together wonderfully, and after wearing it for a few days, I completely understand why you'd fawn over this watch. The build quality is outstanding and it wears really nicely. Combined with the impressive master chronometer movement, there's an awful lot to love about the new Speedmaster, and not very much to hate. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, well done Omega, you hit a home run. Anyway, that's it from us. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. And also remember to comment down below with what you think of the new Speedmaster. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers!